Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good Tvach, Shavua Tov. We are learning Mishnah Yisukah, Parakeh, Chapter 5, Mishnah, Mishnah 5. Okay, so we have in the previous Mishnayos have mentioned the times where the Kohanim would blow the trumpets. And that's going to be the focus of this Mishnah. Ein poichasin me esrim v'achas tkiyos b'mikdash. We do not blow less than 21 blows in the mikdash. Now, as we said until now, the way that the blowing is described it's described as a tekiah, a trua, and a tekiah. Tekiah is a long sound. The trua by the trumpets is 3 short sounds. And then you have the tekiah again, the long sound. Each one of those is going to be counted as one sound. Okay, so when we talk about one blow, when we talk about numbers of blowing, each one is counted as one. So even though there's actually 3 sounds to the trua, but we count it as one for the purposes of this Mishnah. So we do not have less than 21 blows in the mikdash, in the Beis HaMikdash, meaning you'll never have less than 21. And you will not do more than 48. Okay, that's the starting point. No less than 21 in one day, and no more than 48. And here we go. Every day, there were 21 tkiyos, there were 21 blasts in the mikdash. They did 3 when the gates were opened. That means when the courtyard gates, the Azara, the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, were opened early in the morning, the trumpets were sounded, tekiah, trua, tekiah, to call the people on duty to their positions. Okay, so you have, right, we're calling it shalosh, lepsicha sha'arim, 3 for the opening of the gates. As I said, 3 means trua, tekiah, trua, tekiah. That's 3. The Teisha Tamid Shal Shachar, there were 9 blows by the morning daily sacrifice. The Teisha Tamid Shal Ben Arabayim, and 9 for the evening daily sacrifice. Okay, so now, what does that equal? 21. Very good. Now, the understanding of the 3 by the Tamid is like this. As the wine of the Tamid offering was poured on the Mizbeach on the altar, the Leviim sang a chapter of Tehillim that was divided into 3 parts. At each part, the Kohanim blew the trumpets 3 times and everyone bowed. That's what took place. When we say they were blowing while the Leviim were singing their shira, they were singing their song. They said a chapter of Tehillim. It was divided into 3 parts. At the end of each part, they blew and they bowed. Okay, that's what happened by the blowings by the daily sacrifices. Okay, so far we have 21. Keep that number in mind. Uvam Musafin. How about on days when Musaf offerings were brought? Shabbos, Yontif, Rosh Chodesh, they added another 3. Again, when the wine of the Musaf offerings was poured on the altar, the Leviim also sang a chapter of Tehillim. It was divided into 3, and the Kohanim blew the trumpets 3 times after each part. Thus, on the day of Musaf offerings, there was a total of Richard?
48.
Excuse me?
It was just
21 plus 9. Right? You have the daily plus Musaf. So 20 plus 9 is 30. Okay, so far, when you have Musafin, it's going to be 30. Now, Erev Shabbos, and on Erev Shabbos, on Friday, they blew another 6. That means 2 sets of 3. 3 to suspend the people from doing work. And 3 to distinguish between holy and weekday. So the way they explain it is like this. The first blast, meaning of the first 6. So you're starting off with a tekiah. The first blast signaled that people working in the field should stop. The second blast, which is the trua, indicated the shopkeepers should close their shops. And the third tekiah warned people to prepare for Shabbos by removing from the fire food they would eat that night, insulating food that they would eat the next day, and then kindling the Shabbos candles. Okay, those are the first three blows. And then the next three, after the first three blasts, they waited the amount of time it takes to roast a small fish. Doesn't say how long that is. And then they sound, I'm assuming it's probably, and then they sounded the second three blasts to mark the beginning of Shabbos. Okay, that's ushered in Shabbos. Okay, now, on each Friday, therefore, at least 27 blasts were sounded. Daily 21 plus 6 for Erev Shabbos. Okay, therefore, you're having at least 27 on each Friday. And if Friday was a day of Musaf offerings, at least 36 were sounded. The regular 27 for a Friday, plus 9 for the Musaf offerings. Okay, now, unlike the other trumpet blasts mentioned in our Mishnah, I'm reading it from the bottom, the 6 of Erev Shabbos were sounded not only in the Beis HaMikdash, but in every Jewish town. Okay, so that's what the Erev Shabbos ones, meaning to tell the people about Shabbos, that wasn't just done in the Beis HaMikdash, that was done everywhere. Okay, let us continue. Now, so that is Erev Shabbos. Now, Erev Shabbos Shabbosai Chachag. Erev Shabbos that fell during Chag, which is during Sukkot. Hayu Sham Arbayim Ushmaina. That's when we got to our 48. How was that? Here we go. Shalosh L'Psicha Sha'arim. 3 for when the gates were opened. Shalosh L'Shar Ha'elyon. 3 for the upper gate. Upper gate, remember, is going from the Ezras Yisrael, the Israelite section, before they left there. Before they started going down the steps to get to the Ezras Nashim, to the women's section, they blew 3 times. So you've got already now 3 and 3, 6. V'shalosh L'Shar Ha'tachton. And 3 by the lower gate. The lower gate was when they hit the floor, when they came to the floor of the women's section, they extended their blowing until they got to the gate that went east, that went out from the east. Okay, they blew 3 times there. Okay, they blew 3 times there. Right. So you have 3 before they went down the steps, 3 when they got to the floor and went out. And then there were 3 that were blown when they used the golden flask. 3 for fill right. 3 when they filled the golden flask with the water that was drawn from the Shiloach spring. Okay. V'shalosh al gabe mizbeach, and 3 by the mizbeach. 3 by the mizbeach here does not mean when they poured the water. It means 3 for leaning the aravis over the top of the altar. Remember the special mitzvah of taking the aravis that they did, and they walked around and they leaned it against the mizbeach, against the altar. They blew 3 times there. Okay, 9 for the morning daily sacrifice. The 9 for the afternoon daily sacrifice. The 9 for the musafin, the additional the musafin sacrifices. 3 to have the people stop doing work. And 3 to separate between holy and weekday. All together, that comes into 48. Sounds like Chad Gadya, or like when, Now, one last thing, right? If you think that really 48 was really the maximum, really, there was another time there was more. Listen to this, okay? The Mishnah lists the maximum number of blasts that were sounded on one day almost every year. 48 was something that could happen almost every year. However, it was possible for an even greater number of blasts to be sounded in a single day. You ready? On Erev Pesach, the trumpets were blown 27 times on account of the Pesach offerings that were brought then. When they were bringing the Korban Pesach, they blew the shofar in the Beis HaMikdash. The people bringing Pesach offerings were divided into 3 groups. That's a Mishnah Pesachim. Hallel was recited by the Leviim 3 times for each group. 3 times Hallel for each group. And the trumpets were blown 3 times for each recitation of Hallel, making a total of 27 blasts. So you got 27 blasts of the shofar at the Korban Pesach being shechted, which has to be done at the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, now, These were in addition to 21 blasts of every day. Thus, 48 blasts were sounded on Erev Pesach, 27 and 21. It's 48. If Erev Pesach fell on a Shabbos, when the trumpets were sounded 9 times for the Musaf offerings, the day's total was 57. The Mishnah does not take the situation into account, like how come we don't mention the Mishnah? Because it is unusual for a Pesach to fall on a Shabbos. So because it's unusual, therefore the Mishnah left it out. So the Mishnah said 48 is going to be, 48 is going to be something you can have every year. While the 57 is not as common, and therefore the Mishnah did not include it. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. Meretz Hashem, our next Mishnayos class will be on Friday. Have a good week.
You too. Safe trip. Mazel tov.